morning, sunshine. Welcome to Morning Inspiration with Friends with our host, Miss Inspiration. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe as you sit back and listen. Hey, good morning. It's your girl Tanisha Shanae, Miss Inspiration. We're here with another episode of Morning Inspiration with Friends. Today we have our friends over in LinkedIn or on LinkedIn who will possibly be joining us live. If you are watching on the replay, hashtag replay so I know that you were here with us. This message was actually inspired by a post that I saw this morning at like 3 o'clock this morning on LinkedIn. And I think it's a very important conversation to have. Now, it is not only towards teachers, okay? It is towards anyone that is trying to make a career pivot and they are being misled by social media specialists, experts that think they know better than you. And, today I just really want to talk about that. But for everyone who doesn't know, Morning Inspiration with Friends, we're here every Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. ish, like 7:05 sometimes. And we are here live. Thursdays is typically our time to have Throwback Thursdays. I have been going live since 2015, so I have tons of content that I can always repurpose. So I do try to give myself a little grace, and I will allow on Thursdays to have a Throwback Thursday message. But before we jump into that, hit that like and subscribe. If you are not following, if you are on Facebook or on LinkedIn, please go to Tanisha Shanae on YouTube so you can get access to all of Morning Inspiration, my friends. We are now at over 125 episodes for Morning Inspiration, my friends. So I'm excited, okay? We're doing big things. I've been super consistent. I'm sticking to that, okay? So make sure you hit that like button. But let's talk about this. This is not going to be a long conversation, but this is one that we need to have because we are seeing many people who are leaving, whether it is education or it is any other industry, and they are being told. I can relate to education and with teachers because I am an educator. I started teaching adults back in 2010 at a local college in New York City. And then I kind of just went through the process, gone and worked at different trade schools, workforce programs, other colleges, whether it's online or it is in person. And then I pivoted from there, went into instructional design. And then I honestly realized it was instructional design was not what I actually desired, what I really enjoyed. And so this is why this conversation was kind of near and dear, because I do recall meeting many fellow educators who were also in that frustration space and they were also being led to that. And they realized it was not necessarily something that they truly desired to do. So, I want us to really have to understand that you know you better than anyone else, right? You know you better than anyone else. So there's going to be tons of experts. There's going to be many experts online trying to gear into towards trying to gear you towards a life that you don't even want. And what is happening is that people are getting so frustrated and sometimes desperate that they're just like, let me just go and do this because I just want to get out the classroom. And I totally understand that, especially like my K to 12. See, I don't work with K to 12, but I'm not going to lie. Adult education has its own challenges and issues that maybe one day we'll talk about. But I do want people to understand that when you are in a frustrated place, you don't have to just do what everyone else is telling you to do. But you also don't have to go, like I've seen extreme cases where educators have said, you know what? It's easier. I get paid better depending on where they live. Less stress. I'll just leave education and I will go be a barista at Starbucks. I've actually met people that have done that. I don't knock it, because if it's something that's going to make you happy, if you truly enjoy it, and if it's going to bring you some peace and you can still survive and pay your own bills, then absolutely do what's going to make you happy. But for those of you that are kind of like sitting here stuck and you're like, I don't know what to do, just understand social media doesn't know you better than you. Okay. Social media is going to tell you a trend, but they're not going to tell you the truth. I'm going to say that again. Social media will always show you what is the next trend, but social media is not going to always tell you the truth. Some of those people are not going to tell you exactly what it is. Just because a lot of people have done it, it doesn't mean that you have to do it, right? I didn't realize that back in 2019, when I took an opportunity to go teach, and I'm thinking I'm just going to teach there. And they was like, hey, we kind of like you. We think you have a lot of experience that you could potentially become our next instructional designer. And I appreciate it, though, because with all due respect, although it was not something that I actually enjoyed doing, it did expose me to what I will eventually start to do, which is like educational technologists. I love everything about technology. I'm always playing with different tools, whether it's educational tools, AI tools. I'm always figuring out how to make education better, more interesting. And that was what I realized I was interested in. So it wasn't necessarily instructional designing, but I was able to start figuring out by going that direction. So it's like you kind of put a checklist and you're like, okay, I know I can do this, but is this something that I actually want to do? And so that's how I ended up in educational technology. And so when I tell people, you can explore things. I always say, explore things, try it out, right? If you can get an opportunity, I'm good for. And, I know some companies don't like to hear things like this, but I love to take a contract so that I can explore something. And when I have a contract, I'm not having a full commitment to an organization, to a position. If you say, hey, I need to hire you for 3 months to design and build me some e-learning modules, I have no problem doing that. I can do that. I enjoy doing that. But in the midst of that 3 months, it's going to help me to decipher, is this something that you want to do full time and for a long time? And so that has helped me. And I think that's actually why I have still kind of stayed in the contract role, because I'm always like kind of trying to figure out, where do I actually belong? Right? Many of us have many talents. We have many skills, many abilities, and you're not tapping into them. And then you have people like me with many talents, many abilities, and we're tapping in all of them. We're trying all of them. And I want more people to get into that habit of trying what you're really good at, and this kind of exploring to see what you really want to do on a day-to-day basis. Again, that's the one key part. We can do something, but is this something that you want to do 7, 8 hours a day? You have to figure that out. Now, the one thing I can say about teachers, and if you are a teacher, if you know a teacher, tag a teacher, send this message to a teacher, because I want my educators to know, if you are looking to leave the classroom, one thing that we have so many transferable skills that can go to many different careers and paths. You don't have to just go and be an instructional designer. I have a list of things that many of my fellow educators, and including myself, have done over the years. And I'm going to highlight the ones that I have done. If you are an educator, you are probably really good at being a corporate trainer, right? That is what I actually prefer now. I prefer to do trainings versus doing actual classroom instruction. Now, people are like, well, what's the difference? Classroom instructions, that means that you are given a curriculum. That means that you have standards that you have to uphold. That means that there's grading is tied to that. That means that sometimes the grading is going to reflect your employment status. Whereas with training, give me the curriculum, let me come in, let me facilitate, let me lead and guide, and take these participants from point A to point B, and make sure that when they get to point B, that they're able to go out there and execute. I love that about corporate training. That's actually what I started. Didn't even realize that I was in education in any way when I started my first career right after college. Ended up becoming a trainer for my division, and had to go throughout the Northeast and train everyone on the policies and procedures that we were implementing in that department, right? So corporate training might be the thing for you. You might not want to deal with the Common Core and, having to sit in meetings about data, and you don't want that may not be for you. Look into corporate training. Project management. I have seen many educators on whether LinkedIn or just personally that have decided to go into and get their PMP, which is also great. But I always like to say project management, you don't necessarily need to get that certification. Is many of us have already have the skills, talents. The one thing that I heard a couple of weeks ago, and I shared this with one person, I would like to share with you. If you are someone who was trying to transition into project management, look at your resume and see how you can transfer your resume to the jobs and to projects. Highlight your accomplishments like you would in a project setting. That was the one thing that I heard. I shared that with two people and they were like, that made a lot of sense to them. So that is something for you. Go ahead, take that. Be a champion for that. HR, human resources. It's really not, it makes a lot of sense. You're dealing with conflict resolution. You are creating manuals. You HR. Now, believe it or not, I also used to work in HR. It is something that once in a while I do contemplate going back into human resources, especially dealing with people development. That's why I like coaching, mentoring, life coaching, right? Those are the things that, so a lot of us, you have these skills that can be transferred. You just got to start seeing it for what it is and then start to highlight those tasks, those things that you were really successful in, and you can start to transfer it. And I was teaching career development. We spoke about this so much. So there's really a lot of different ways that you can pivot. And then guess what? You can just go off and say, I want to just do something totally different. And that is also fine, right? So it's good to listen to what these people are telling you, but I also want you to realize you have to do your research. And this also takes a lot of time with you doing self reflection. Reflect on what it is that you truly have a desire and passion for. And when you really do that, that's where you're going to start to find where you belong, right? That's where you're going to start pivot towards. So it could be content creation, you could be an academic coach, educational consultant. You might say, you know what? I just like to create digital products. Teachable is a website that has tons of educators, and many of them former educators, where they love creating worksheets, handouts, um, assessments. They like to do those different things. So they would sit and create all of those and then put them up on like websites like Teachable, and then they would sell them to other educators, to other schools, right? They're going in and saying, hey, I can create all of your XYZs, and they will that will be their job. So you have to kind of figure out where your passion lies. So that's something that I know. I know for me, faculty development was where I realized. Now, I knew I was really interested in faculty development back when I first started, especially like in 2011, because I walked into these different institutions, brand new educator, no educational background, and I did not receive the development that I felt like I should have had. I wish that I would have had a mentor. I wish someone would have walked me through like how to deal with difficult students and things of that nature, classroom management. I did a lot of learning on the job. And then for whatever reason, it was just something that was just really natural. And then I kind of became that person where my people on my team would be like, hey, Tanisha, hey, we have a new instructor coming. Can you train this person? It could be literally training them on the systems that we're utilizing, or I was training them on just how to be a better instructor, how to actually teach. They knew the information, but they didn't know how to like really relate to their students. Some of them would just sit and read from the PowerPoint. So my role as the faculty development specialist in that particular position, I was really just helping the brand new faculty members who have never taught like myself, and just giving them pointers and tips on just how to relate to their students and how to really get that information across to them, especially difficult. So when I first started to do that, I was at a medical assistant program. A lot of them were nurses, former nurses, doctors who came from overseas, and they could not, they were in the process of trying to get their license updated for the United States. And they just were like, I don't like, I was practicing somewhere else. Like, I don't know how to really teach this. And when I say to you, it really was a great opportunity. It was a great feeling. So when I say you just got to find what works for you. So when you pivot, pivot where you're going to find that joy, you're going to get that spark, and not the spark that's going to last for like 2 seconds. We want the spark that's going to last for some years, because you have a wealth of knowledge and expertise that someone out there needs. It's just not going to be in a traditional setting. All right. So again, I'm speaking to my educators, but this applies to everyone, because there are some people right now, there are nurses. I have helped nurses go from nursing, being in nursing homes that they didn't want to be in, hospitals, and they actually have transitioned and pivot into education, because they realized that was something that they were interested in, and they really did like helping new nurses, and that became something that they became a nurse educator. There's a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be the traditional K to 12 or only being a college professor. Like a lot of people think everyone wants to be a professor. Everyone doesn't, right? You might want to teach a class, you might want to be an adjunct, but you might not want to do it full time. And then what if you could become an adjunct, what do you do with the rest of your time? That's where you're going to start figuring out where your skills and talents can actually go and grow, right? Go and grow. We want to grow in these roles. We want to just continue to grow. So the last thing is, like I said before, I want you to just go out there and try it. Try, explore, experiment, right? But don't force it. Okay. So again, if you are looking at these social media posts and these experts are telling you, oh, if you're an educator and you want to leave the classroom, become an instructional designer, don't just drop and start applying for only instructional design. Like start speaking to instructional designers, speak to the people. And I will say with instructional design is a very unique case, because I have found in my experience, there are two types of instructional designers. The instructional designers who have never been educators. They've never been in the classroom. They just know um, they just know how to create curriculum, and they know how to create great curriculum, but that's all that they're speaking more from a theory standpoint. But when you have an educator coming in as an instructional designer, they're looking at the actual audience, right? They can actually tell you, yeah, that's not going to work in this particular audience and this particular case. They have a very unique perspective. So I think people need to start thinking about those things. But yeah, find you a mentor. Like I said, if you want to start exploring, look at different contract roles. You can go on websites like Upwork. I'm a little biased with Upwork now, because I really don't like the fact that they make you pay to apply to opportunities. But it is a place that if you want to explore an opportunity, they typically can give you like 100 credits. I think it was like $15, and you were able to apply to these different positions. And I was able to get some work on there. And again, it made me realize the things that I did not want to do. I can do it, but doesn't mean that I necessarily want to do it. And one of the examples would be a virtual assistant, right? Virtual assistant, Upwork, they have all of these opportunities. And a virtual assistant can literally do anything. They can do a lot of different things. So I was like, well, let me try being the tech person for someone as their virtual assistant. And it just didn't work out. I made a couple of dollars. I was annoyed more than I was excited about the project. But then if you get the right project that you're going to be excited about, doing the things that you actually want to do, tapping into the skills that you want to utilize on a daily basis, then you're going to find that enjoyment. That's when you're going to have that spark and be like, yes, I can do this every single day. So these are different things I just want you to really think about. But stop letting social media to dictate what you're going to do next. If you are in that space, like I said before, figure out what are your transferable skills. Okay, what are the skills that you have and that you can transfer? We all have skills that can transfer to something else. What are the things that you're interested in, right? And if you don't know what those things are, then yes, start applying. Again, don't quit your job and start taking full-time jobs somewhere and you end up hating it and then you're stuck, right? We don't want that. But we do want you to start figuring out ways to start tapping into. There are so many people out here who are looking for someone to help them to create the next manual, to conduct trainings for them, to create the curriculum. Like there's so many different ways. You just have to figure out. And that's the one thing that I love what I do, because I help people to figure out what is their real hidden talents. And so if you go to my link tree, do I have it up there? I probably don't. Yeah, I don't have it up there. No, I do. If you want, you can book a discovery call with me. If you go to my link tree, it's a free discovery call. Let's have a conversation. If you're like that person who's sitting there like, I don't really know where to go next, then let's have that conversation, right? Because I want you to go where you're gonna thrive, where you're gonna grow. Like, I don't want you to go somewhere and just be stuck and have that same feeling of dread every single Monday, every single day. Like, that's not healthy. So if you are one of those individuals, go to my link tree and get on my calendar for a discovery call. Let's have this conversation. And I also have a tool that if you decide to work with me, you will have access to that will help you to really confirm what you think you're supposed to be doing, or to help you to kind of digest what are your hidden talents, because your hidden talents can truly be the next step towards you being the person that you're supposed to be. Okay, so I hope to hear from some of you. And again, for those of you that are brand new, welcome. Hit that comments with hashtag replay, so I know that you were here with us. But I hope to see you tomorrow. We'll be back here tomorrow. Now, LinkedIn, you may not be invited tomorrow. I'm sorry. I'm not being biased, but I tend to like focus more on Facebook and YouTube, especially YouTube. Okay, so please head over to YouTube and look for Tanisha Shanae. I've been talking a lot about making money online this past couple of weeks. Really talking about taking your talents and your skills and providing those into a product and service that you can use to make extra money. I talk about digital products, so a lot of different things, because that's what I do as a teacher. My new motto is, I am willing to teach you if you are willing to learn, right? I can teach you if you are willing to learn. So I am your girl, Tanisha Shanae, Miss Inspiration. We're going to stop right here. I'll see you tomorrow, 7 a.m. And as always, have a great day on purpose, with purpose. I love you, and you know God loves you too.
Wow, Tanisha, that was a powerful message. I hope everyone was blessed by today's message. Listen, if you are not tuned in, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Meet us for morning inspiration with friends every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m.-ish CT time. See you next time, friend.